Hey guys, good afternoon. I'm wanting to vlog a little bit. Technically, this is my first vlog, and I just feel like I got to get things out there. I want to give all you moms a little tip, especially the ones who are struggling with infertility because of like PCOS or whatever other reason. And then when you finally do have a baby, my tip for you is don't get attached to your OB, okay? Things can get bad. I was diagnosed in 2019 with PCOS. My OB that I had at that time had said it was going to take longer for me to get pregnant, roughly about 10 years at least. Well, I found out I was pregnant in January, and I was recommended by a female OB by my cousin, and I expressed my fears to her the first day I met her, and she said that she told me not to worry, everything will be fine, I'm in good hands, she will get me through this. Okay, well, months go by, everything's great. Up until after my delivery, everything went well. I delivered a baby boy safely. I developed postpartum depression, and I didn't think it was really postpartum depression. I just thought that maybe it was just the fact that my son was going to be my last one. But when I expressed that to my husband and stuff, it wasn't really exactly the reason why I was feeling the way I was. And then I admitted that I had grown attached to my OB, thinking that was, what was causing me to be the way I was. No, it wasn't. But I did admit to a nurse practitioner that did an assessment for postpartum depression, and she wrote it in my patient notes. Well, I had met with my OB 2 weeks after that, and it was for my, it was on my birthday. It wasn't my postpartum checkup yet, but she did see me before my postpartum checkup. I did admit to her that I grew attached. She didn't say anything, but I didn't really explain to her why, I told her I wasn't trying to, it just happened. I told her how I was coping with my depression. I was going to this pond in this neighborhood and all, and the pond was actually helping. Let's just say that. Well, I find out a few weeks later, at my postpartum check, that that pond was actually in her neighborhood. She told me that it was, so I had to switch up. I had to figure out a way to come up with a different coping skill, okay, to deal with my postpartum. And so I stayed away from it. I stayed away from out there, and I figured, to deal with everything, I will get into DoorDash, deliver back for them, and go back to delivering for Instacart and all that. So I had deliveries out in that area, in her neighborhood and stuff. Well, I go back to see her, for another follow-up on 10/6, which was last Friday. And okay, hang on. I'm going to jump back a little bit. I also was advertising for a cleaning gig. I put them on all the neighborhoods out that way also. And it was dark. I wasn't exactly knowing what streets I was turning on, so I was just kind of turning this way and that. Well, somehow I ended up in her neighborhood, because the neighborhood that I started off in, their mailboxes were all locked. Okay, you got to have a key to get it to them, and I was passing out flyers for, like I said, my cleaning gig. Well, I somehow ended up in her neighborhood, and passed out all the flyers, and I didn't know I was in there until after I saw the sign lit up as I was leaving. And my anxiety went crazy because I knew she was going to accuse me of stalking her or whatever. And, you know, I told my therapist this because I went to see a counselor and all that. And she said, don't worry, I think everything's fine. You're just kind of thinking too much into it, you know, trying to assure me. So I go to my appointment on 10/6. Sure enough, I was right. I was right. You know, I admitted to her that I was out in that neighborhood. You know, I wasn't sure exactly if she had gotten one. Okay, I didn't know her address. And apparently she did get one. Okay. So now I was accused of stalking her, you know, that my attachment was unhealthy, which I started to attach myself after she had told me that it was at her neighborhood that I was sitting in. So I started to detach myself slowly, you know, and apparently it's against the law for me to deliver through DoorDash and Instacart out in her neighborhood. Okay. Now, she wrote in my patient notes that I disobeyed her regards due to her personal discomfort and all that. She told me she had gotten one of my flyers that did make her uncomfortable, you know. I had to have a pregnancy test done because I thought I was pregnant again. And when she came back and I was feeding my son and we were talking about, you know, everything else again, and I ended up burping my son and ended up, you know, trying to give him his bottle back, but he kept putting his hands up by his face. And all I said was, buddy, if you want your bottle back, you got to move your hands. So I started to move his hands. Well, she wrote in my patient notes that I got verbally aggressive with him after she had told me that we needed to cut all ties from each other. And now I was following the facility on Facebook. I'm now blocked. I'm blocked on all social media sites from them. I cannot see anything that they post because of her. She recommended inpatient management, which I don't need. I feel like she's treating me unfairly, accusing me of something that I wasn't doing. You know, apparently I can't work around her neighborhood or in her neighborhood without being accused of stalking. You know, I just want to get the point out there. Don't ever get attached to your OB. It can get messy. It did for me.